I'll wait to hear from you.
So we went from French back to Mexican.
Yeah, apparently.
Looking forward to a little French restaurant in town.
I thought that was a lovely idea, but Camilla saw something on Facebook. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Is that
Is
George
it-
echoing back?
Is that me? Oh. Better stay quiet.
Yeah.
No, I was being recorded.
There they go. And, you know, potentially,
Out there forever now.
right? Welcome. I'm going to take a guess that you're here for PIG. Welcome. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't mind, just noting your attendance. There's no split room. Are we live? Okay. Everybody, welcome. I'm going to open the Design Review Board and Historic Preservation Commission of the Village of New Paltz meeting, October 16th, 2023. And we are opening things up at 7:01. Good evening to everybody. Hi, Bill. First item of business is to look at the minutes of September 11th. Did anybody see anything that needs to be amended? I feel the same. Motion to approve as submitted. Moved by Michael, seconded by George. All those in favor? Minutes approved. Val, thank you very much. Bill, what's new on the village board? What can you update us on?
It probably planning board, last meeting, they approved the site plan for the old storage to be the home of a new cannabis dispensary. So it's up to Office of Cannabis Management. Cannabis. Their stuff is pretty much unrelated to the concern.
Okay. You said it'll happen quickly. Is the cannabis board a speed? Do we even know if it's a speedy office? Which is sort of, that's a weird way to have phrased all of that. Yeah.
Process. With that. Having kind of this place showcase here. Yes. Showcase. State. What's place? Showcase.
Okay, can't have both. Okay.
First to that. impression painted is terrific and we use that. That's last week, the discussion about.
Mhm.
Good job.
Yeah,
See. All right, we'll ask him which one is.
thanks. Any questions for Bill? Oh, yeah, any updates from the, okay, yeah, so that was the thought I had as I walked in the building, but that flew away. No building department updates. Okay, thanks. Let's see, I think because the applicants aren't here, let's just go straight ahead to HPC 2310 on behalf of Alana Badgley and Rudy Green at number 4 Henry Court. It's an application to replace most of their windows. When they first inquired, just a little context here, this would have been, I think, pretty easily a like-for-like replacement. They didn't want grills. I think it's currently 6/1, and they want to take it down to just single panes. And to me, that's immaterial. And were it not for their desire to make that a bay window, I would have said like for like, no need to do it. But they really want the bay window. There is definitely precedent for bay window in that neighborhood. In fact, your neighbors to the west have it. But nonetheless, it is a change. So I guess you can start with that understanding. The other thing is, and this was on my recommendation, the kitchen window, which is the one next to the garage, is divided, but it's not divided in the same proportions. It's got this kind of awning thing and then a fixed pane. And so as they were taking me through the house and explaining what they want to do, it sort of popped into my head as soon as I got home, that they might be better off just making that a full frame casement or awning window rather than have two horizontals going on. And they liked that idea. And so that's what they've submitted. And then they want to change some things in the back. They actually want some casement windows in the rear, and they wanted not to replace the basement windows, which are currently do have mullions. And my feeling personally is, it's not public facing. Let's let them do what they want. So they don't want to replace those lower basement level windows at this time. I think I copied everybody on my suggestion that maybe we just leave that as an option, and that would give them a couple of years if they decide to do it. I don't think there's any risk to giving them that latitude. So that's what I know of it. Michael, you probably know at least as much, if not more than what I just said, because you.
At this point, it sounds like you know more than I do. Yeah, no, I mean, the conversations I had with them were pretty similar. So they're doing these for energy conservation reasons and because these windows have lead paint in them. And so it's important for them to get them out.
Yeah.
For health and comfort reasons. So It seems perfectly reasonable. It's not going to change the look of the house in any significant way. Um, and other houses along this, there's only of these houses that were built, only one of them, I think, still has the original windows. The others have been changed.
We actually saw one of those applications.
Right, yeah, we did a few years ago. Yeah, and the other one was quite a while ago, so. Yeah, so I think it would be fine. And the bay window they're putting in, other than it coming out from the house, is gonna look very much the same in
It
terms of style.
Yeah.
And the proportions of the window, so. Seems to me to be, will be nice for them and hardly noticeable from the outside.
Yeah. Get some more light into their room.
Just give them some more space to.
So you see no problems?
No, no, that's the.
Good, you see? Nope. All right, let's not belabor it. Maybe I should just ask, are you both comfortable including that? Including approval for the basement windows, should they decide to?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's
I
fine.
mean, I can't see a risk to that. The only reason I suggest is, they are going to kind of create this dissonance with mullion windows below and not above, but
Yeah.
it is the rear of the house, and it's
It's really not visible from anything except the rail trail a little bit in winter. And,
Yeah.
and as you said, they could probably just pull those grills out.
they might be able to do that. I didn't get an answer. I asked. Them.
Yeah, they were kind of busy.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
but yeah, but sure, that would save them the trouble of having to reapply and all. I think that's fine. And I don't know if those are newer windows or not. Did you notice?
No, I didn't notice. I didn't actually see them up close.
They might be just because there was some work done in the basement some years ago before they moved in, because of the hurricane flooding that we had.
Oh, did
So
it
it's
get that
possible
high?
that those are older, but I don't actually know. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's possible they're newer. That's what I
Right.
have to say. In any event, I think that's fine. I think it would be nice if we could offer them that. We could. Put a time limit in what we- what we
Well,
want, or-
yeah, approvals are already time limited, and I think it's 18 months to start, 2 years to finish.
Yeah, that's pretty,
1 year to start, 2 years.
okay,
And we've extended them too, and at this point, they don't seem to want to do it, so
Yeah.
probably it's moved.
okay. Anyway, that all seems fine to me.
Good. So motion to approve with that added detail,
So move.
moved.
A second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so everyone, HPC 2310 is approved. Is submitted. Plus approval for optional basement window replacement. Great. You have nice new neighbors, by the way, Michael.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Wonderful. That was easy, and I thought it would be easy. Everybody, let's invite Nick Warner to come
Hi.
out to the table. Nick,
Sure.
good evening. How are you?
Wait, are we gonna do 137 first?
Let's talk about 137 first.
Oh, no. Because we were still kind of just waiting for some direction from the board.
Okay.
Good
So,
evening.
good evening to you. Thank you for coming one last time. I think it's last, I mean,
We'll come a million times.
signage.
Signage, I'll be
road,
back,
but,
yes.
The one little detail that George spotted, I agreed with, and
There was a width difference on the
Yeah.
lintel versus the sill, and I think it was just a drawing error that AJ did. So I guess the question would be is there a preference? Would we like it in line? Or would we like the sill and the lintel to extend out together? Because we have both options. At this, we haven't built anything yet, so we can, incorporate either design. I think, Val, I don't know, do you happen to have the photos of the proposed, like we took off of another building from the last submission? I think we had a photo of a building in Kingston where it actually extended out partially.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I prefer this as opposed to a straight run because it looks more in line with what was used in the past, because the lintel truly was a lintel and it supported
Right.
the brick above.
Yep.
Obviously, because we're using a thin brick, it's not gonna have any function other than decorative at this point, but if it would please the board, we would set up the lintel and the sill to have a similar profile and extend out the same width.
That's my inclination too. I think it just, for the reasons you stated, kind of gestures back to why you had lintels and why
Correct.
that design was developed.
Correct.
I happened to be in Savannah a week and a half ago when this was on my mind, when we were
Okay.
emailing, and so I, that's a very well preserved American
Yes.
city. So I started snapping pictures of windows, and to a window, they all had this.
Same width,
Profile.
yes.
um,
Well,
was
the
that-
sill performed the
I
same
snapped the
function
picture of March Hill and the way they extend the head and
Yeah,
still they
in
line
line.
and
Sure.
line up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think just, whatever that feels right to your architect, a certain protrusion, and then just keep on that vertical.
Yeah, it probably will be 2.5, 3 inches extending out on both the lintel and sill. But in the drawings, he was trying to get them done quickly for the meeting, so I think because he already had the sill detail and then he added the lintel, so I think what happened was he didn't pick up because we had a soldier course there previously that we took back, so we can make that adjustment, and if
You're comfortable with it?
Yeah,
with that
that's-
inclination?
I prefer that, actually. When I saw the plans after you wrote the note, I'm like, they're right. They didn't line up. I told AJ that, but I think it was just, he was trying to get them done quickly for us, so. But we're happy to incorporate that. It's not, there's no cost, there's no,
That's great.
factor to it. It's just a little bit larger of a sill to match.
Is that your inclination too?
Yeah, I'm just looking at some random images of it. And some older homes.
I think that'll really make those windows pop.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
they've given a lot of work to that element of the design. And I think
Absolutely. No, we're in agreement on that. That's completely fine. The only thing I would ask, Mr. Chairman, is if you could just send a note to planning, or I can even respond back to the group note, just saying we had our conversation this evening.
Let's do that, and then I'll just confirm that.
Perfect.
That is
Saves you,
so.
'cause I know
If
you got
don't
enough.
mind, yeah.
Not a problem. I'll do that either this evening or first thing tomorrow morning, because we're back in front of
Tomorrow, right?
planning tomorrow night. And hopefully we will have our neg deck for seeker, and then we can proceed to an approval very soon, hopefully. So we can start really costing this out and hopefully start construction in the spring. That's our goal.
Nice.
So,
Yes, that's great. That won't come as a surprise to the planning board, because I really more or less said
right,
we're
this is
signing off,
minor.
but there's this one detail we wanted. to-
Absolutely.
Great, so the plan is to break ground in the spring,
That's our goal.
and then,
Well, if we have one of those great mild winters again, it seems like our summer was wet and our winters have been dry. So hopefully we have a dry winter this year.
warm enough to dig too.
Yes. Yeah.
That sounds great. Can you think, is there any other loose end at 137?
No, the only thing, like we said, is the signage, but that'll really be driven by tenancy. There is a discussion about a possible single-use occupant for the first floor. But we haven't, finalized anything because we don't have a construction schedule yet. But I will tell you that the occupants and employer in the village already, and they're not very far away. They just need more space. So it'll be helpful for them to create some additional jobs, and we won't be displacing anybody or moving them anywhere else. So they'll keep the space they have and hopefully expand into this. That's our goal. So
Terrific. Nice to have good news.
yeah.
Good. Well, if that's all sealed up, let's talk about 15 and a half.
Sure. We're calling it 17 now,
Oh.
just for fire purposes, but it is still 15 and a half. They're in the process of making a formal change, I believe.
Oh, brace yourself. This happened on my street. And
Did it?
5+ years later, I'm still dealing with it.
All right, it's okay. I mean, we'll get mail there no matter what. The post office knows, so it's going okay so far, but I brought for you, I had mentioned in my email earlier today, that I would bring some color samples here. Michael. And I gave Val a set there as well. So here's pretty close to where we're at the moment. We did get our column wraps in. One of them is on, the next one is going on. We still have our decorative scrolls to go on each side of the columns. We had that little detail that we're going to return there again. But otherwise, I think the building is looking very sharp and very nice for the neighborhood. We are pretty much substantially complete on the exterior of the building. And as you have heard now, Mexican Kitchen is returning to its former home. The French restaurant is not completely off the table. It's just not on this table, so to speak.
Okay.
We have a potential spot for that in the village, but by popular request and demand, Mexican Kitchen will be returning to its former home. So with an upstairs dining room now and
Yeah,
a brand new
level
building.
floors.
Level
all that
floors.
interesting stuff. Doors that don't just
Open
seep
by
out.
themselves.
Yeah,
or
or
closed by them.
seep out heat and AC.
So it will be a much welcome change, I think, to than what was here before. So with that, because we're kind of changing the decor a little bit and the style of the restaurant, we had originally proposed a very ornate bracket with scroll work. I'm sure Val has that somewhere for us.
Yeah.
So we were a little bit more ornate, but it doesn't necessarily translate to what we're doing now. So we've offered some alternatives, which are still within the character, I believe, and what was there previously. So one is the straight post illuminated, and again, all of our signage is illuminated from the bracket, so we don't have light shining all over the place like we had talked about. So one is a straight bracket that would be 40 inches long, holding a sign that will be 38 inches. It may shrink down to 36 just for proportions to keep it off the building far enough where the trim protrudes out. So we'll be between 36 and 38 for the sign in the width, and then about 2 feet for the sign in the height. So it'll be a rectangular sign as opposed to an oval sign like we had previously proposed for the other restaurant. There is a second bracket option that we've put forth that has a flat steel bar that returns back up to the building. So we thought these two were kind of more in character with what we're doing. And they also kind of fit with the blacksmith shop style of things. They're not overly fancy, but they look like something a blacksmith would have made at the time when they did it. Previously, we just had a metal L bracket and some bright lights shining off the building, which obviously we want to get away from. So those are the choices of the brackets that we're proposing. And the sign detail, we have a photo of the sign that shows what the new branding will look like. That is a blue. It is very close to the enchanted navy color. It will be a wooden sign carved and then painted, painted the blue and then inlaid the white lettering will be painted and carved into the sign in white. Camilla was very gracious to send us some color choices that we reviewed. And what I guess we're asking is we'd like to try to match the blue from the sign to the door color, because that was kind of the open discussion item still for Camilla and I. We were still not settled because we weren't sure yet. So we're proposing the enchanted navy, but I did bring a couple of other blues, the Atlantic schooner and the indigo cloth for you to kind of look at, because they're kind of in the same family, but a little bit different in the hues.
And what's the siding color again? I
The
forget.
siding is the desert tan.
That's right.
Which is kind of a dark beige.
It's like a dark
Yeah.
beige, yeah. I like how they come up with these names, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like a chart, they just pick them out.
Yeah, my feeling, any one of these three is fine.
Yeah, I feel, I probably lean in the same direction you do.
Yeah.
We
Maybe,
kind of thought the navy is like a colonial color in a sense, and that, you know, it would be appropriate kind of for the style of what we're doing here. And it does match the logo that we happen to create, so it would obviously match. We would paint the sign the same color as the door.
Okay.
And I obviously want to thank everyone for the stone. You know, we kind of did an offline stone detail. I don't know if anybody's been down there to see it, like now that it's sided and up, but it really is sharp over there. We're going to do some landscaping along that side. Just some, you know, nice boxwood and hosta so that different seasons have different colors, but there's also a little bit of screening going on there as well. So cleaning up that rough driveway.
it's just gonna be a huge improvement.
Yeah.
It really is.
And now if you go and see, we've also removed all the plywood that was in the alleyway, and, you know, we have our new sidewalks in there, and that's nice and neat, and there won't be, it won't be a storage area anymore as it was before. You always kind of look down the Mexican kitchen alleyway and you weren't sure what you were going to see up there.
Right.
So we've definitely cleaned that up, and really made it a usable space. And our goal is to, in the summertime and spring and fall, have even some two-top tables in there for overflow, or if people want to sit outside and, you know, be in a little bit more of a private setting than North Front, watching people make the turn up the street as opposed to following the one-way direction.
It sounds great, man, really. Michael, did you have any thoughts on the colors?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, any of them is fine, but I was thinking that the Atlantic schooner might actually go better with the siding, but it's just, on the other hand, it's often you would sort of paint a door a color that really pops out, and this would do that more, so that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I recall that being part of Camilla's thinking, is to make sure that door pops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our thought with the French was we were gonna do like almost a red door, you know,
Yeah,
so it was
right.
like boom, but we didn't necessarily think with the branding and the signage being blue that red, it kind of
Yeah,
doesn't look.
that
right.
Well, also for Mexican kitchen.
But also, right, and I think this is probably a better color for the cuisine you're using, so sure, I'm good with it.
Okay.
Okay,
And in terms of the sign, bracket rather,
Yeah.
I actually prefer the second one
with the
with the
Yeah,
bar.
extension
bar.
board, sure.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Agree.
Yeah, I guess uniform. I like that, but I think it's quite modern. And
Yeah,
I also think weirdly, it might be some kind of incentive to do chin-ups on it. You
if
gotta
they could
think,
get that high, we have to keep it, so just like.
how high is it gonna?
The rule has to be that the bottom of the sign has to be 8 feet above the ground. So we need Shaq here to do it, to get
Well, I'm
that.
thinking-
Unless somebody
You
picks
haven't
somebody
seen
up.
kids
Oh, I get it.
Stand on each other's shoulders and.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, they could still use the other one, but if you look there, so we're at 8 feet on the porch height, and then we're probably another 2 feet where the electrical blank comes out. So we're about 10 feet off the ground, but I understand they might try to do it on the other one.
Well,
too.
yeah,
they could do it on the-
Probably would.
We'll put some extra bracing inside.
I would definitely do it. Were you leaning one way more than the other?
The only, I was leaning this style and I guess I'll say selfishly because it actually would fit on the block that the electricians
Oh,
installed.
right.
But worst case scenario, all we would do, if Val, if you don't mind, could we just go back to the photo of the building for 1 second?
That way,
Yeah, we could, so that white block is actually a piece of the party trim. What we would do is we can cut the siding out and then extend, we would put a new block in that would sit on, so it sits appropriately if we did the longer, you know, the triangular bracket. But either way, it can be done. It's not, again, it's not like a major project to do either. So.
I guess I lean toward the second just because it does feel a little bit more blacksmithy
Mhm.
to me. Maybe seems a little more in character with the age of the age that the house is referring to. But I don't feel that strongly, but that is my
Okay.
inclination.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, at some point, at Scarborough Fair, they were allowed to just put a pole in with an L across, and it's not very attractive, you know, they can, hopefully, as things get done in the future, we say, take that one down and
That's the hope. That's
use the
sort of-
signage on the building.
goal.
Yeah, we've been around 22 years now, but a lot of things were done before.
I would guess it probably was the toy store or before even. So. But it
Yeah.
happens, you know, I mean, our neighbors, you know, are the Crusted Magic. It's a little different down there too, but you know, people are trying to make their businesses work and
Yeah.
we understand it. So Mexican Kitchen wasn't the greatest looking building before this, and now it's hopefully going to be a showpiece that you can turn to folks and say, this is what happens when applicants and developers work with boards like this, and
Yeah, right.
you get a finished product that's nice for the community.
Agreed. Thank you for your part in that.
Absolutely.
So Enchanted Navy seems to be where we're going.
Okay.
And then if you don't have any objections, then
The triangular bracket.
The triangular design
Okay.
seems to be the one that resonates for us.
Sure.
When do you think you will get your CO?
Well, we're waiting for Central Hudson to energize us, which will be hopefully the beginning of next week.
Cool.
And once that happens, they can pretty much wrap up the rest of the work inside. I mean, the entire building is now insulated, plumbed, electric, everything, just sheetrock needs to go on the walls, which is a very quick process in a building of this size. And then once that happens, we are probably 6 weeks away from kind of full build out. So December 1st, I'm thinking might be realistic. One design feature that you don't see, because inside of the building is not exactly the purview of the board, but some things we've done inside. Originally, we were going to have a flat ceiling on the second floor. We made it cathedral with that window.
Nice.
And initially, there was some concern about the cross members being seen, and we've corrected that and fixed that, so that won't happen. But we did need to have collar ties running across the building when we changed it to cathedral style. And actually, we put in very large pine beams as the collar ties, so they'll actually be exposed and not a wrapped beam with drywall. So it's, you know, if you remember Mexican Kitchen, it had the wood supports holding the floor up on the second floor. So it's going to kind of still have some of those feels and features, but a modern building. But once it's done, it'll feel like home again. You know, Mexican Kitchen was always a cool place. You know, sometimes you had to wait a couple hours to get your burrito, but hopefully that'll get solved with
a modernized kitchen.
and not a small room about as big as this table. It's really going to be a cool spot, and I think it'll do well in the neighborhood again and generate a little bit more life down there again.
It'd be nice to see it come back. Nick, this is great. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
so careful with the details.
Absolutely.
It'll show. I mean, it already shows, but when we're 6 weeks or so from now, everybody will be really happy. So you think you can contemplate an opening
In December is our goal.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And it's a good time as well because the students do go home for part of the month. So, you know, Mexican Kitchen, I feel will be pretty busy with, you know, the residents and the people in the community that loved it before. So we can kind of have a transition opening before that, you know, DoorDash and Carry Out King's business really starts up again in January. Because that was always the fundamental problem there, is there was so much of that to-go business. It was hard if you wanted to go in there and sit down and eat or grab something to go. And now we're really going to try to focus on also being a sit-down restaurant. I mean, there'll be up to like 26 seats now on the second floor. So, you know, we want people to come in, enjoy themselves, have a margarita, which you couldn't do before because we only had beer and wine. But now we'll have a full bar license. There won't be an actual bar per se, but you'll be able to order bar drinks because we're not a bar, we're a restaurant. So I think it'll overall be good. And, we'll do our soft kind of opening in December and get things going, and then we'll be ready for the students and faculty to come back in January and hit the ground running hard for spring and summer.
Sounds really good.
Good luck. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good luck indeed.
Thank you. Thank you for all your advice and consultation, and we appreciate it. You need to keep them? You guys are
No.
welcome. If
If
you want to keep them for another project or something,
Yeah.
you could say to somebody, here's
You know
some
what, I'll
blues
do-
for you.
You don't need them back?
I don't.
Okay,
Just-
well, I don't know how many, all right.
You got
Tell you
it?
what, split them.
Cool. I'll take
There we
these
go.
back to
Yeah,
Lowe's, so.
I've got plenty there. Good.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you
Val.
so much.
you too.
I really
Have
look
a great
forward to
night.
seeing-
Have a good night.
Thanks again, and
seeing
we'll be
the
back
building.
for signage on 137, hopefully in the spring,
Yeah.
so. All right. Thanks
Sounds
again.
great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, that's great. So that knocks off item D1 and E3. Let's just run through the updates from the PB and the ZBA. So negative declaration at 1:45, that means it's progressing. Public hearing on 184 has closed last week. Just a little bit more than last week. 11 Water Street, I had a conversation with Zach.
Is that the hotel?
That's the hotel.
Okay.
And we looked at that several times and I think made some really good suggestions, some of which the planning board doesn't agree with. So we may be seeing that again as they develop a set of recommendations. I don't have anything specific, but
Okay.
actually there is one specific. There was something about fire access that makes a ton of sense in terms of fire safety, doesn't make a lot of sense in terms of softening up the front. So I think a new landscaping plan may be coming our way. And I know there's been some to and fro about how to access the rail trails. So we'll just keep our eyes open.
Yep.
5 and 7 Prospect Street, Val, we heard nothing more, so I don't know where we are. Just wait and see.
Yeah.
I did communicate to the planning board chair that we haven't really seen enough to make a judgment. We definitely haven't approved anything.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
We know where things are headed.
Yeah, I think we do.
Okay.
In the sense that the barn idea seems ruled out. It's not legally impossible, but he considers it financially impossible to do. I think it was like about a 640 square
Yeah,
foot
right.
accessory. But I have a fairly long list of concerns about both of those
Okay.
projects, but without anything to look at, I guess we just wait.
Yeah.
Um, the in Oliver House, that October 10th meeting ended up being postponed. There was going to be a kickoff meeting with architects. I think the mayor was going to, or the planning board was going to be there. Anyway, at the very last minute, it was postponed and I don't have any update, on that. Except that we really wish it well. Hope it moves along. George, how up to date are you on 68 and 70?
Well,
Great.
they have all the panels up, you got the shutters up.
Don't those look great? That's down to you for
It does.
insisting on good shutters. When was that taken?
This was taken last week, so this is all complete now here. And they're gonna work on these fascia boards. Fascia board is gonna stay this height here. And they're gonna cut this one back to make it the exact same height.
Okay, good. So drop it down? Or?
No, cut it up,
Oh, I see.
so this
To
way
make
it's
it
the same exposure.
Same size.
Yep.
Raised up a notch, okay. Which also kind of honors the fact that those are once separate buildings, right?
Yes.
It just delineates them.
And then Mr. Burke, he's going all the way now. He's getting 2/2 STL windows,
Good. And he's
which
going
is
to
really gonna make it pop.
because I think I copied you on that.
Yes.
Just saying, please let us consult on that. 'Cause he's going to do it.
He ordered them already, STLs.
Fabulous. Good.
Great.
So perhaps we should acknowledge that in our minutes that we're accepting that as an addendum to the approval. Did we ever approve this? No, we were just consultants.
Yeah,
We're in that kind of Main Street limbo. I don't remember.
No, I don't.
We were in this room. I know that. I
Yes,
remember that
We
distinctly.
were.
I couldn't be happier. I mean, I think this is going to do so much good for.
Yes, and it's the side view, yeah,
Isn't that great?
it's all done.
yeah, that was really nice.
It's
That's quite a
amazing
nice
what that
building.
fascia board is going to do just to even those out.
Oh, without a doubt,
Yeah,
yeah,
because they're just.
and then painted white with new gutters on them.
So the fascia board is just painted. It's not.
It's gonna be wrapped,
Okay,
because the gutter hides most of it.
yeah. But it'll be painted.
Yes, it'll be white.
And it looks like that project also will be done by the end of the year. Maybe not
Oh,
the
yes,
windows. I
yes.
think the windows are coming.
Not sure about the windows, but I would say in the next 2 weeks, the whole siding project should be done.
That's great.
And as you could see, people have started fixing up their buildings around it.
I actually haven't been down Main
If you
Street.
walk down
That's right.
down the street, they started putting new stoops like he did in brick and blue stone, and he just went ahead and did it. But it sure looks good.
That's great.
You know?
Take it.
Yeah, I
Take
know.
Boy, it just I hope there are a lot of before and afters because man.
It has everything. Yeah.
Did you find any record of whether we were consultants or?
I have to go back and look the records I have with me on this stick.
Don't have it. Let's just do this then. Could we have a motion to approve 2/2 SDLs as an addendum to whatever we might have approved, if applicable? Is that all right? Moved.
Great move.
Michael, are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
all those in
second.
favor?
Hi.
So Val, it's recorded. That's a huge, that's going to be beautiful. Correct. Yep, and then 3-0. Great, thanks, George. That's a good news
Yep.
report. 15 North Oakwood Terrace. Pat Cobalt, who used to be on this board, called me up and asked if I would come over and look at something that they have planned. They've got a large, pretty sure it was a maple tree that's dying. It's hollow. It's pretty near the house, although not so close to the street that it's a shade tree commission issue. It's sort of in the beginning of the backyard. Anyway, they are looking to remove the tree, and once the tree is gone, they can kind of rationalize their driveway. I don't think this needs a permit. There's really nothing permanent. It would be just gravel, be a gravel base that slightly widens the driveway. So if nobody has an objection, I think that would be our determination. Michael, you okay with that?
Yeah, why would it even be their purview? With
Well,
getting
the
rid of
house
it?
is landmarked.
Oh, the house
It's
is landmarked.
individually landmarked.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, no, that sounds fine.
But it doesn't, the thing that would tick for us is major landscaping and removal of a dying tree. Doesn't drive us-
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. Number 5 is the art show, and Camilla's always the one with the updates. But we know that we have the space for May and June next year. I'm pretty sure early in 2024, she'll start soliciting submissions. I wanted just to show you both the calendar. So Peter Fairweather, who's one of my neighbors, was one of the winners last year. Not for this image, but one of the months has the image that he won with. But anyway, this calendar, he's donating 50% of the proceeds from the sale of this to local preservation. I don't know that that means historic. I think he's really thinking more like scenic Hudson, but it's all preservation. So I bought one. They're available down at Handmade, or he himself could sell you one. But I think it's great, and I asked Camilla to put it up on our Facebook page and just help get the word out.
Didn't know he painted.
He paints a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No idea.
he's really good.
Yeah, that's pretty good from here.
Yep. I'll send it over.
Sweet.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to having a calendar that means something to me this year. Bluestone Sidewalk Survey. Val, you
Yeah.
really,
Thanks.
okay. Oh, Michael and then Val.
Oh, I have nothing. I went to my basement and looked through what I have, and I've years ago apparently tossed out all of my
Okay.
meeting notes, so I don't have any records anymore of that. I only have project notebooks. So I don't have any new information about that, and there might be some electronic information on the village website, but I don't think so. Yeah, yeah.
What I provided was straight out of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
I think it's a starting point. Yeah.
Unfortunately, if anything, there's less, so.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Places where there were some, I know, don't have them anymore. But yeah,
I would like to do that. We're now getting into the season where maybe I'd rather do that in the nice weather. Why don't we put off a decision about when to do that and how to do that to the November meeting, Val? Let's just bump that over when we're at full strength, I hope. Item 7 is the Huguenot Street report, which usually Stephen does. Michael, do you have any knowledge of any of these items?
Let's see. Don't know what's going on at 191. Oh, yes, I do know a little bit. I mean, it was sold.
Did you get it?
No, I didn't.
Oh. Interestingly, it came
Um,
to Val, not to me.
Oh,
It must
yeah,
have-
yeah, because as a neighbor. Yeah, right, so this, I do know, because I was talking to Chris Hasbrook, very soon before he moved away. So it has been sold. It was sold to some people who I think intend to live there at some point. That's what Chris said, but I don't, but you know. But I know they're doing renovations.
One of the
and
jewels.
we're planning to do renovations. And that's about all I know. I don't know any of it except through the previous owner.
Okay. Well, we do have, from the building department, we have the names of the new owners. We obviously have the address. And what typically we do, Michael, is just introduce ourselves, send the material that goes out
Sure.
every spring. So
Yeah, I
think-
don't know if I haven't seen much activity there. So I don't know that anybody's in the house or even working on it yet, but we could Would you mail that stuff to them?
Yeah, I think,
Have a mailing address for them?
well, I think 191 Huguenot Street,
Oh, just mail it
just
there.
mail it there
Okay.
in the hopes that either it's being collected or forwarded.
Okay.
Because
Uh,
Val, we don't have, Alex did not give us any other address. Oh, we did?
Yeah,
Oh, I missed that. Okay. Well, we could mail it there
yeah, I do.
or both. Yeah, or both. Okay.
118 Huguenot. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
No.
That's just the discussion about changing the approval date of pottery studio at Rosen Days.
Oh,
That's, yeah,
okay,
we've already approved that.
yeah, right.
That was just.
Yeah, they've got other priorities now. So, 181. So I guess they're in the process, they're looking for a special use permit now. So that's news to me, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay,
But in the interim, they're permitted to operate normally while that's,
Yeah.
okay.
okay. And HHS, we had talked about, I don't know, I have any new information about that either, or about the church, which I assume is long done, but maybe not.
I'm not sure. It looks like,
They were waiting.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. So sorry, I'm not much help with these.
this must be really tough for people building large buildings.
Ah.
Or even small buildings, just,
Yes.
you know, getting things. Okay, Michael, thank you.
Sure.
The budget report, we did get some numbers. Well, I think I'm working.
You need a, 32.
Okay, so we're on track and a little bit better. The audit report and recommendations, did everybody have a chance to look
Yeah.
over that letter?
Work to do.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good. I sort of, you know, we meet standards in every instance, but looks like we do have some work to do. My takeaway was actually, it mostly has to do with how we're representing our work in the code.
Yeah, it looks
There
like
was one recommendation about being a little more specific in our
Right.
approval letters, which is easily done. And then otherwise, I think they're just picking up on some incongruities or vagueness. And I guess they want us doing trainings a little bit more. But honestly, this was news to me. I don't remember ever getting specific encouragement to do that. So it may be that they're just paying more attention to that.
So do they, when they make recommendations like this, do they circle back within a certain time period?
Yeah.
Before the 4 years are up?
Yeah, they want, it's 120 days to respond to the audit.
Okay,
So that's 120 days from, I think, the beginning.
so about 4 months.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and I think they just want a plan, or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take a look at the code stuff if you'd like.
I would be so grateful.
And
Yeah.
Linda sent.
they said there was a model from,
Yeah.
Oh, did she send
they
that?
said it was 2014.
2014.
I haven't seen that updated, but whatever, if that's the current one.
Well, the model we were using would be from the 90s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm happy to look at their model legislation and
that would be really good.
look at what ours is and make some suggestions, and then we can pass that on to the village board.
Okay.
So, I will do that. We'll try to figure out which month is going to be best for me to do that. It'll either be, it might not be, I might not have anything before our December meeting.
We usually, actually.
We don't
to tell you
usually
the
have
truth,
it December
Yeah,
meeting.
I was actually gonna ask, do you think you could at least preliminarily?
Do it by November.
Because otherwise we jump to January.
And it's just 3 weeks from today, right? Because
Yeah, it is.
I'll do the best I can.
Even outlining what the problems are or how you would respond to that
Okay.
suggestion, at least that would give
Oh,
us
at least
something.
for,
to-
yeah, I can do that, whether or not I get into the weeds. I may not do that, but at least something to give to SHPO.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, I'll make sure I do that.
that would be really nice, Michael. Well, then at least we can acknowledge the issue, respond in some way.
Okay.
And that 2014 model law might offer something.
Yep. All right.
And Val, am I right in thinking, Val, communicating a little more detail in our acceptance letters is easily?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I try to do the letters before the minutes are formally approved, and I probably need to wait then.
Right. The other thing is we could, and we've sort of talked about this in the design review part of things, just try to adopt a more bullet style approval form where we just say for these 3 reasons and then that. Why don't you and I continue to think about that part of it? Maybe we could, I mean, maybe SHPO has some models of what they consider adequate detail. We could. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it sounded like they wanted them just to be more congruent between whatever whatever the minutes reflect, the letter should reflect.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
sound like they had a specific template that they wanted you to cover these things. We can either make our minutes less detailed or make our letters more detailed.
And then for November, Val, let's, when we're at full strength, look at supplemental training as a category, because that really did kind of come as a surprise to me that there's a requirement. I've never noticed. a
Yeah,
requirement.
it's part of the legislation.
I mean, I'm actually pretty pleased that, in every case we meet standards and they called out some of the extra things that we're doing, and that's good. Okay, so we have a plan. Let's return to that in December or November. Let's see. DRB guidelines. So I have a couple of paper copies and I can look. I didn't get this out by email in time, but I reached out to Shane maybe 2 weeks ago and he's just so busy and I've been busy that nothing really came of it. But the vision that I was trying to communicate to him is that we might think about maybe a half dozen of these 1 to 2 page guides. And these were some of my ideas. The first one would be just explaining what we are and what we do, who we are, on what basis we exist, what our purview is, and then get into the one that's drafted already, windows, doors, skylights, get into siding and trim, paint, lighting hardware, hardscape and landscape, utilities. We also, I didn't mention it on this, but we already have a pretty good one for, oh, sorry, that got folded into the utilities, placement of AC condensers, placement of lines and tanks, just kind of logical stuff that people don't always think about. And that's, I think that would actually end up saving us some time and trouble. especially like with the AC placement. If people know that going in, know that in advance, if Rycor and some of the other installers know it, they don't have to come in front of us. If it's going to be the compressors to the side and screened or at the back, then we don't have to put people through it and put ourselves through the obvious. So I think there's a lot of benefit to pursuing this. It's just, it takes time to sit down. Yeah.
It's a good idea. I'm looking at the village website. There's nothing on here about design review board.
Oh, boy,
So I
that's a
think it
point.
would be really advantageous once we have this to, one, have design review board as a separate listing under boards and commissions, even though it's the same as us.
Yeah, good
I
point.
think it would be better to have it distinct. And then it can have its own page that would link to these.
My concern is we never had that.
Then how do we exist?
vehicle.
Right. So the issue still remains that what our authority actually is.
It really does, Michael. I think you're right. And
Okay.
I feel like we, got to a pretty good place with the village board, but then a lot of other things were going on. And I think I just had to back off at a certain,
Okay.
but
Good point. Well,
it certainly wouldn't hurt to do,
think,
at at a minimum, fix our own webpage to reflect design review. And then
yeah, I think that I would disagree with that. I think that muddies things worse.
Go straight, in other words, go straight to
It
design review.
implies that it implies that there is a level of authority that we don't have. If it's up there on the same page, then as far as I'm concerned, if I move to town, this is a legit authority, but if it's not, it's not. What I was gonna say is the village could certainly put this up as a separate entity on the webpage, not under a particular board,
Mhm.
but under some other like resources or
Building
something like
department,
that,
maybe.
or building department, and put it up, with a disclaimer that, these are recommendations. And then in the meantime, we can figure out if we're gonna move anything to make this more official.
Mhm.
So, but all of that is dependent on, predicated on you all putting some content together and then create, crafting some flyers.
Yep.
So anyway, I just think it would be a good place to have the
I think that's
resources.
great. Yeah. Yeah. That's feeling more and more like probably a 2024 project, which I've been saying for about 6 months, but.
There.
Okay, but that's a really good point about having some kind of presence, whatever it ends up being. Let's see.
Scott, but they have a link on their menu to the New Paltz Open Air Market. Nothing.
Okay.
There's certain precedent for just
And
Having
where
things
is that open air market listed?
listed right here in their main menu
My heavens,
there. So,
open air market,
right.
public parking, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it's conceivable. Can ask, what do you think, Bill? So the idea of having, if we had some written guidelines about design review for the public, in sort of like simple one or two page format for half a dozen things, could that potentially be digital, available digitally through the village website?
You should send your suggestions to the board.
Uh-huh.
Candidate.
Okay. Okay,
Where people go to look for information.
Yeah.
yeah, all right, great. So,
Okay, yeah.
You know, writing up the movies.
yep,
Great. Compliance with annual training as we wind down the calendar year. Everybody's done the workplace violence and.
I have not, I will.
There are 2 days.
Oh, they are two different ones?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure I do. both
One's
of them.
about 35 minutes, the other one's quite a bit longer. I think a
Okay.
little over.
Val, I think I did the harassment one.
Yeah.
So I have to do the other one? No.
So you need to do that.
Oh, okay. How do I get the info on that?
Still available on demand through the login.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. All right.
It glitched for me. There was something where I guess I had to, Nicole had to clear me to sign it, to create a profile. There was a step there that didn't immediately make sense, but it worked out.
You might have just-
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. The virtual summer short course. Well, I didn't realize that that's only a 60-day. Oh God, the window's probably closed on that. Ouch. All right, so be it. Well, in the spirit of our audit, we'll have to keep our eyes open for similar things. Or maybe they will open that window again for us.
Well, it's the NAPC's course. That's-
Oh, it hasn't yet expired.
yeah.
Okay, so maybe I can pop in. Could you? Oh, I'm the only, Camilla and I are the only ones who,
Hi.
and you did, okay. So probably what we should start to do is track whenever one of us attends something like this. Because I've done a few, but I don't remember what they were. Let's put off number 12 until we're at full strength, just because that's kind of the bigger vision. I would prefer to do our preliminary discussion of partners in preservation in executive session. And I think that it's legal to do that, given that we're talking about possible nominees.
should do you want to wait till everybody's here?
Yeah, maybe we do.
I think that would be more,
Yeah.
otherwise we'll just have to do it again.
Yeah, I think maybe we do. I was kind of getting at that with those questions about when people get COs and when projects are done, because I think as a basic principle, things should be done.
That's due when?
Well, we don't usually meet in December, so we award it for this calendar year in January.
Okay,
But we need to contact people a couple of weeks out, maybe a month out. But November would
Yeah,
be
let's do
plenty
it
of
in
time.
November then.
yeah.
Okay, I think that's prudent. Any other business?
You want to add about the students?
Yeah, would you like to know more about what you've been watching? Which is about half as long as the meetings usually are. You lucked out tonight. What can we answer? Sure, come on up to the table if you'd like.
If you leave me your email address with your signage, send you the agenda.
We're still working on our AV. Is there anything you can think of you wanted to ask about our process or why we exist? Pretty much specifically that, as Michael was saying earlier, we about a year ago, took on a second duty, which is design review. So the gentleman who came in with the paint samples, that's actually a new building, not a historic building, as well as the Mexican kitchen, which you may know burned down, and this is the replacement building. So both of those conversations were really about design review and suggestions rather than preserving an older building. The building, I'm given an image of 68 and 70. So there's a building on Main Street that is old, 1888, I think. And the owner is doing a wonderful rehab of it. You would hardly recognize that building, which used to be
Gourmet pizza?
gourmet pizza building, which used to be pretty crummy. I mean, really crummy. It looks great now. So that would be more in the historic preservation, in that we're trying to preserve the details that make that building historic and specific. Guide the owner to make it. A nice detail would be the shutters. Mr. Seafrie's a contractor and knows products, and he helped the owner get shutters that actually come off the building and have their actual hinges are not working, but
Yeah, well, you could close
you
them.
could
yeah,
actually, which is historically what that building would have had, as opposed to something just like made out of vinyl and screwed into the wall. So that would be an example of, having some expertise around historic architecture.
Change just guys, because I know sometimes like I had my grandma used to be like huge on keeping everything like historic and everything like that. And so I was wondering if you factor in like some people like that, where they're like they want the neighborhood to stay the way it is, whereas if there's like any pushback within projects or anything like that, or if it's mostly just you and the architect or the designers.
That particular one did not have a public hearing. So Val, can you just bring up 4 Henry Court? So that's a modern house. You probably couldn't see very well from where you were, but it's a modern brick ranch right off Huguenot Street, and it's located in a historic district, and that's what triggers review for us. If that had been on just an average village street, we probably wouldn't even be talking about it, because the people could just go ahead and do what they want. But because they're in the district, it triggers a review on historic grounds. But because it's not a historic house, it's a much more lenient standard. And that's what Michael was referring to, that on the street, a lot of people have changed these windows. So that starts to create a context for what you can and can't do. And this was a really easy one, because there are several houses that look like that. They've all changed their windows, or most of them have. So why shouldn't they?
What qualifies as historic? Is it just an age? Is it an era? Because these houses were built around 1963,
Yeah.
so they're 60 years old. Is that
Yeah.
historic?
Well, we've never really operated, some people say it takes 100 years, some people say
Okay.
50. We've sort of operated differently and just tried to guide, and in cases like this, it's really guiding people just to do something that's appropriate to the age of the building, the type of the building. So I'm trying to think of what would not be so good, like skylights facing the street wouldn't be such a good idea. I don't know if we would ultimately say no, but we would probably try to guide the applicant to, like, do you really want to change the way your house looks from the street? Is there a way you could put that skylight on the back, for example?
So on the application, they are asked whether they spoke to neighbors.
Yes.
So, and these folks did, and typically people do, so that there is that feedback at a minimum is, have they done that? And then if something is a little more, we do have the discretion to have a public hearing, in which case then they post that on the property and then anybody can come and talk about it. But it is a bit of a balancing act. We've had neighbors, I happen to live across the street from that house, but neighbors who live nearby have put solar panels on their house and they've come before us. And so trying to balance, people's desire to have renewable energy and do it in a way that doesn't alter dramatically the look of the house. And so we've worked with people and contractors to put solar panels, either if they have the space like this, to do them away from the house, off the street, or to put them on the rear side of the roof if they can. And so we have those discussions with people. We don't want to deny people the opportunity to use renewable energy, but try to balance that with the aesthetics.
And that case was actually a really interesting one, because we did have a public hearing. Nobody from the public came to say anything one way or another, but we kind of pressed the applicant who had originally designed a lot of panels facing Huguenot Street. And with our encouragement, he went back and asked a different installer if putting just some panels on a smaller section could deliver the same energy, and it could, or it came 95 or whatever percent. And he was willing to make that change. And without that level of review and discussion with other people, probably it wouldn't have happened. And that happens a lot. People just kind of go with the first thing they see at Home Depot or Lowe's, or a contractor tells them, and then we're there to say, well, actually, try this. Or back to the shutters that George recommended. He knew the right kind because he's in the business of knowing those things.
And my dad's really trying to find a balance, like keep it, because he really wants to keep it the way it is. Certain changes. I actually found this, like, she didn't realize for years in our home there was a door, and it went underground the house. And there was like
Wow,
how fun.
that sounds like a young adult novel, doesn't it?
yeah, it was. Yeah, I asked it when I was so
Wow.
I always thought, like, if you went in the basement, how could you not see the big wooden doors? I guess she didn't.
Some people don't really like basements. But, just one of the principles we work on, people have to live in their houses. And there were times when a lot of these houses didn't have electric wires running. You're not going to deny people electricity because they live in an old house. You're not going to deny people solar panels, but you try to figure out something that honors the age of the house and the aesthetic of the house. If you really want to follow up, we have a pretty good website. It is a little out of date, but you can get some of the principles. There's like a 20-minute video that explains the rationale for the commission. Good. All right, well, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Commissioners, how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor?
Right.
Bill, thank you for coming. Yeah. What was that, an hour and 15 minutes? Not bad. Thank you.